Welcome back to the We Aspire What's Working with Gender Equity, the data driven insights onto how to advance gender equity in your company. So, we're on to the section which is all about performance. So, this is all about how can you enhance performance and remove any potential bias in this space. So, we're looking at walk through the report just like we have with the other sections. So we're on to some really fascinating data about how women in particular evaluate their performance. So this was a really fascinating study which we found. So if you look at the references just down here on the bottom, you can Google that at any time and you can find the actual report which is available. And you'll find that this is a really striking statistic in our opinion. And that's why I made it into this section, is that women undervalue or kind of underrate their performance by 25% on average, right? And this was, if you think about the ramifications of that, if you're, let's say, going through a sales, someone's in a sales role and you're evaluating their performance and you ask for self-evaluation, and often you might ask for self-evaluation before you, the manager or a leader in that organization, actually evaluates their performance in a different way. And what you'll typically find, if that's the case, then the biased view coming back from the participant or the staff member might actually then have you, and this is what happens in the research, give them a lower score than they might deserve. So key thing here, this is a piece of like really simple bias that the research demonstrates exists. The opportunity is just to sidestep it. Don't, help women understand how they're actually performing compared to others, perhaps, or perhaps other people in the team, or against the sales metric, rather than asking for their perspective of how they feel, because that can sometimes, as it's saying here, lead to a negative outcome. So really interesting kind of slice on that thing. And this was the next, or speaks to the next finding. Scales of evaluation, right? It's quite normal. Let's say you might throw, evaluating someone, you might have a 0 to 10 scale. They found when they did this in male dominated fields, so we're talking probably engineering, anything to do with finance, kind of technical piece like that, there was usually in that 11 to 15% women, a 10 out of 10 rating was the most common rating given to men, whereas an 8 out of 10 was the most common given to women. So it was seen, and you can say this is wrong and all that kind of piece, and I understand that. What we're trying to show here is that if that's the bias, if that's what typically happens, the easiest way to solve this is by using a scale which doesn't have the bias. So they found that if you move to a 6 out of 6 rather than a 10 out of 10 scale, it effectively neutralizes any potential bias showing up. And hey presto, you've achieved the same result. So a really simple tweak which demonstrates such a powerful step in the right direction. Moving into the next one, this is one of our program findings. So we found that the programs which actually worked the best in terms of got the best feedback from participants actually focused on connection first and foremost, and then secondarily had the content. So we've specialized in working with first-time leaders. And if you think about that, we found junior mentors are actually the best mentors for other people in junior roles. So it may not be a surprise but sometimes people can find more senior people scary, or that their level of success can be seen to be unattainable. So interesting finding from that one. We also found, and this is a research paper here, so you can double female engagement by offering different levels of challenge. So we've adopted the findings in here. When it comes to our training programs, we now offer 3 levels of kind of challenge when it comes to engaging with any homework or out of workshop training that they're doing. We find offering 3 means that they can engage in different ways. They may be super busy, so there's a very lightweight level of challenge. Then you've got 2 more maybe aggressive, or they're bigger in terms of the workload involved, but people might have the time or appetite or interest and wanting to go deeper. So we found it's a super easy strategy to actually implement. And as you can see here, women are more likely to engage if you have additional levels of challenge rather than just having 2, which is what the research found. Coming on to this one, training initiatives, right? We found that when you think about doing anything, so if you're trying to address gender equity in your company, if you're trying to improve sales skills, having an initiative, which is a long-term focus, can work far better than I'm going to do a training program to improve sales skills. So we found initiative sets the right mindset for the participant, rather than I'm going to do a program, at the end of the program, I'm going to be sorted. it's often not the case naturally. And initiatives really set the right thinking that there's ongoing work. You can't just complete the program and then you're all done. So an interesting piece there. And then this last final one speaks to the mid-level manager, right? We often, in our programs, we involve mentors, and it's very common to try and encourage people to try and find senior mentors. Women, it's found in terms of the level, which is very appropriate or makes them most effective, shall we say, is actually a mid-level manager. If you can find a mentor at a similar level, or maybe just one few steps ahead, they can be a more effective mentor. They can inspire more effectively, and that should be great news for a lot of people. So you don't have to pull in your senior people all the time. Actually, what you want to find is mid-level, kind of closer to the people you're trying to inspire, engage, and connect with. And that's a great takeaway, which this paper does a fantastic job of kind of going into. Last one here, remote training was least favored. I know it's all the buzzword. It's super easy to access training online these days. We actually found when it comes to training, remote was least preferred. It was often the least safe. So people were on site and had lots of people around them. They ran into unexpected backlash, like managers not wanting to give them the time off, or it kind of looked a bit weird if they were doing a training online whilst everyone else was running around working. So there was a whole bunch of kind of social stuff, which is a bit tricky, but it was a really interesting finding, we thought, when it comes to the remote side, which of course everyone's now adopted. So that's the piece there. We're going to jump into financial outcomes next, but thanks for joining us.